On the surface, I think the resolution urging the federal government to raise the poverty line seems compassionate, but I think the approach fails to address the core issues and risks harming both individuals and taxpayers alike. A good 15 years ago, I was a recipient in New Jersey. I was a single mom in crisis situation with 3 small children, relying on food stamps and energy assistance. I understand the struggles that families face, but there's a reason these programs are called TANF. The T stands for temporary, and they're meant to provide a short-term safety net and not a permanent way of life. I lost my public assistance benefits when I secured a full-time employment with benefits, so I traded a $90 a day per diem with no benefits and a food stamp benefit and energy assistance benefit. I traded that for supporting my 3 kids with a salary of $40,000 gross per year. I hear an argument that people say they don't want to work for wages when they could get benefits that are similar, that would be free. And I can't be clear enough about how much of a fallacy that is. I happily traded my stable, permanent employment with health benefits for my children for my food stamp benefit and my modest energy assistance benefit at that time. It kind of creates a false sense of security and it undermines the dignity of work, and I think it really does hurt taxpayers. I was very lucky to have that safety net for me when I was so vulnerable. But every time we raise the poverty line or we expand benefits, the burden falls on the taxpayers, and what I'm finding is many of them are struggling themselves. So I think the long-term effects of discouraging work opportunities and incentivizing benefits by raising the poverty line, we're robbing people of their potential, and it kind of creates this cycle of dependency, and I feel like it drains resources that could be used for those who was me circa 2007 versus me circa 2009 when I was able to improve the situation for my family. The resolution also mentions hikes in the minimum wage as taking people off of public assistance. And I wasn't here, but I do recall when this body debated hiking the minimum wage to $15 as well as indexing it to inflation. We were told the taxpayers were subsidizing big business because with lower minimum wage, the workers were forced to be on public assistance programs to make up for the low wages. And that's what was argued. And that's what different interest groups came and testified as saying. But now that minimum wage increased over $15 and will increase annually, people are being removed from public assistance programs, but now we're urging the federal government to change the rules for public assistance and allow the very same workers that we said would be prompted to leave public assistance because they received wage hikes. Inflation is horrific. We know this. Inflation has hit everybody. Everybody, whether you're on public assistance, whether you're part of the working class, it has slammed all of us. And my question is, where does the threshold end? This is my concern. It's not to rob people of benefits or adjust for inflation or adjust for the cost of living or take resources away from people who desperately need it. I was one of those people. What I'm saying is I accepted the fact when I hit that threshold and I surpassed it. It was not easy then supporting a family of 4, paying rent, paying for everything yourself with a gross salary of $40,000 with a family of 4. There has to be a limit. There has to be a threshold. And I don't think the answer is to keep, if we increase minimum wage to get more people off public assistance, then we keep increasing what that poverty line is or urging the federal government to increase what that is. I just don't think this model is sustainable.
And you said, where does it end? It ends with equal opportunities for everyone in here in our state. You said made $40,000 a year, but you had a different privilege than I had. The system is designed to keep people like me down and behind, right? And so raising that threshold will help individuals that look like me. I understand what you have been through and what your circumstances may have been, but when you talk about a circumstance like a community like mine and people that look like me, oftentimes we don't get the same tokens. I will continue to push legislation like this because I know the impact that my community has and will continue to have because the way the system was designed. The system wasn't designed to uplift me.
For most of my life, I grew up privileged. Well, I think being white is probably privileged in today's world anyway, but I went back and did a little bit of research on what the poverty level was back in 2007. And so family of four back in 2007, the poverty level was $21,203. So thankfully, you were able to succeed and double your earnings back then. And I think that's fantastic. But when you look at what the minimum wage is now, the poverty level for a family of four is $31,200. So $15 an hour, which is our minimum wage, guess what? It's the poverty level. It's right there at the poverty level, at $15 per hour. No one can survive. A family of four, you can't survive in today's world, especially in our great state of New Jersey. We have an obligation for those of us that have toiled and come out from the other side to make sure that that ladder is still there so that others can climb that ladder and be uplifted any way we can.
I remember when it segued to making a more reasonable, livable, somewhat livable salary for me and my kids. I did not qualify at that threshold for, let's say, school lunch for my kids. So I was making 40 prior to taxes with 3 children, single parent, did not qualify. This year, I was looking at what that threshold was for school meals in the same family of 4, 15 years later. The threshold is $69,000. And I look at that relative, and again, just trying to wrap my mind around it, it was a bitter pill in, living the situation, then saying, okay, I no longer qualify in 2009 when I did in 2007. My question is just, where is the threshold? I get it. We could always return back to, I'm a school administrator. I'm a school administrator in socioeconomically, underprivileged areas for sure, 100%. But my question is the taper off the problem? Because I know there's a big talk about where that fiscal cliff is, right? So when somebody is getting their benefits and then they just like the gentleman spoke about, they just hit that threshold and then all of the benefits are gone. To me, it would make more sense to make it a gradual slide of sorts. It didn't feel very slidey to me then, but I don't know if the solution, again, is to just keep increasing the wage, increasing the benefits, increasing the wage, increasing the benefits. I just don't think it's sustainable.
I respect your point of view. I appreciate it. I appreciate my colleagues. However, we know we're doing this with the intention of giving somebody a helping hand, because back in the Bible days, that's what God did. And I'm not going to quote any scriptures, but I'm just going to say, I'm going to follow Jesus. Right.